I used to think night shifts were peaceful. Before everything happened, before I understood how a normal place, something as ordinary as a Walmart, could twist into something that felt wrong on a level you can't describe, I believed that working late just meant fewer people and more silence. That's it. No danger, no weirdness, nothing supernatural. My name is Evan. I'm 27, and until last year, I worked as an assistant stock manager at a Walmart in a small town called Riverpine, Ohio, a quiet place that didn't make the news for anything except the occasional lost dog or high school football win. I used to travel sometimes to different branches when they were short-staffed. Corporate would send me for a week or two to help reorganize back rooms, run night stocking, that sort of boring stuff. It wasn't glamorous, but I liked the quiet. At least I thought I did. I got transferred for a 2-week assignment after their night manager suddenly quit. I never found out why. My supervisor only said he walked out mid-shift, didn't take his stuff, no call, no letter, just gone. I laughed when I heard that. I thought he'd gotten fed up with corporate nonsense. When I arrived in Riverpine, the store looked normal enough. Big blue front sign, wide empty parking lot, bright lights humming overhead. But the moment I stepped out of my car, I felt something. You ever step somewhere and instantly feel like you don't want to be there? That crawling awareness at the back of your neck? That's how Riverpine Walmart felt from the moment I arrived. Inside, a young cashier named Lily greeted me. Nervous smile, too nervous. "Welcome to Riverpine Walmart," she said, wringing her hands. "You're, here for night shift, right?" "Yep. Evan, I'll be running stocking for 2 weeks." Her smile dropped. Not completely, just enough that I noticed. "Oh," she whispered. "Night shift." Before I could ask what that meant, she walked away. Not hurried, not rude, just uncomfortable. Like she knew something I didn't. My first shift started at 10 p.m. We had a small skeleton crew. Miguel, a 40-year-old stalker who kept humming under his breath. Britt, a quiet girl who moved fast but never said a word unless she had to. Cal, the overnight janitor. Cal was the first one who seemed genuinely friendly. "You knew?" he asked, swinging a mop bucket toward me. "For 2 weeks." He nodded, eyes wary. "They never last 2 weeks." "Who?" He didn't answer. He just stared down the long main aisle, toward the back of the store where the lights didn't seem to reach properly. I shrugged it off and started my work. Night shifts are usually filled with the comforting clatter of pallet jacks, cardboard cutting, boxes ripping open, normal, predictable noises. But here, it was so quiet I could hear the humming lights. I could hear my own breathing, and every so often, from the back of the store near the employee-only hallway, I heard the soft creak of a door, even though no one was near it. I mentioned it to Britt. She froze. "You heard that?" she whispered. "Yeah." She swallowed hard. "Just ignore it. Everybody does." That unsettled me more than the sound. Chapter 3. The Man in the Red Jacket. Around midnight, I went to the back room to scan inventory. Riverpine Walmart had an old layout, narrow doorways, long, poorly lit corridors, leftover fixtures nobody bothered to remove years ago. I was halfway through scanning a stack of winter coats when I felt something, a shift in the air, a presence. I turned toward the swinging door leading to the hallway. Someone was standing there. A man, tall, very still, wearing a faded red jacket with a Walmart vest on top. "Hey," I called out, "you need help with something?" He didn't answer, just stood there as the door slowly swung shut behind him. His face was blurry in the shadows. "You okay, man?" I took a step closer. He walked away, not fast, not slow, just drifting down the hallway like he didn't feel his own feet hitting the floor. I followed him to the hallway entrance, but it was empty. The door to the break room was closed. Maintenance door locked. Emergency exit alarm armed. He couldn't have gone anywhere. I went back to the floor and asked Miguel, "You got a guy on shift tonight wearing a red jacket?" Miguel stopped organizing cereal boxes. "Red jacket? Yeah, looked like an older employee, maybe." Miguel's face drained of color. He whispered softly, "Evan, nobody here wears red." The second night was worse. This time I was working alone in the paper goods section when a small rectangle slid out from under a pallet. A piece of paper. I picked it up. Messy handwriting, uneven letters. I looked around. No one was nearby. I crumpled it, walked away. But 10 minutes later, another note. On top of a pack of toilet paper rolls. This time I felt my chest tighten. I wasn't following anyone, unless they meant the man in the red jacket. Around midnight, I went to the back room to scan inventory. River Pine Walmart had an old layout. Narrow doorways, long, poorly lit corridors, leftover fixtures nobody bothered to remove years ago. I was halfway through scanning a stack of winter coats when I felt something, a shift in the air, a presence. I turned toward the swinging door leading to the hallway. Someone was standing there, a man, tall, very still, wearing a faded red jacket with a Walmart vest on top. "Hey," I called out, "you need help with something?" He didn't answer, just stood there as the door slowly swung shut behind him. His face was blurry in the shadows. "You okay, man?" I took a step closer. He walked away, not fast, not slow, just drifting down the hallway like he didn't feel his own feet hitting the floor. I followed him to the hallway entrance, but it was empty. The door to the break room was closed. Maintenance door locked. Emergency exit alarm armed. He couldn't have gone anywhere. I went back to the floor and asked Miguel, "You got a guy on shift tonight wearing a red jacket?" Miguel stopped organizing cereal boxes. "Red jacket? Yeah, looked like an older employee, maybe." Miguel's face drained of color. He whispered softly, "Evan, nobody here wears red." The second night was worse. This time I was working alone in the paper goods section when a small rectangle slid out from under a pallet. A piece of paper. I picked it up. Messy handwriting, uneven letters. I looked around. No one was nearby. I crumpled it, walked away, but 10 minutes later, another note. On top of a pack of toilet paper rolls this time I felt my chest tighten. I wasn't following anyone, unless they meant the man in the red jacket. I went to find Cal. "Hey," I said, "someone's leaving notes." Cal slowly stopped mopping. "Don't read them," he whispered. "He likes when you read them." "Who?" He looked toward the employee hallway, the same hallway where I'd seen the man. The one who didn't leave. "You mean the manager who quit?" "He didn't quit." Cal's voice trembled. "He ran." On night 3, I couldn't take the tension anymore. When Britt went on break, I followed her to the break room. "Tell me what's going on," I said. She hesitated, then unlocked her phone and pulled up a video. "It's from the security room," she whispered. "I took it right before the last night manager disappeared. He worked that last shift alone." The video was grainy. The night manager, Daniel, was checking the backroom camera when something moved in the far corner of the screen. A shape. Tall. Human. Wearing a red jacket. Daniel stepped off screen to go check the hallway. The camera switched to the hallway feed. The man in the red jacket stood at the far end, facing the wall. Completely still, Daniel walked toward him. Then the lights in the hallway flickered. For half a second, the camera glitched. The tall man was suddenly behind Daniel, inches from him. Eyes dark, face too pale. Mouth open like he was whispering something into Daniel's ear. The camera glitched again. Daniel was gone. The hallway was empty, except for the man in the red jacket. He slowly turned his head toward the camera and smiled. The footage ended. Britt's hands were shaking. It happened at 3:17 a.m., she whispered. Same time the others disappeared. Others? She nodded. This store had 5 night managers in the last year. All gone. My mouth went dry. And the man in the red jacket? Who is he? Britt shook her head. We don't know. I almost quit right then. I should have. But something in me needed to understand the truth, so I stayed. On night 4, the lights kept flickering near aisle 12. At 3:04 a.m., Miguel clocked out early saying he felt sick. At 3:11 a.m., Britt hid in the break room and refused to come out. At 3:15 a.m., Cal said quietly, "You shouldn't be here when it happens." When what happens? He didn't answer. He turned and walked away. At 3:17 a.m., I heard footsteps from the employee hallway. Slow, dragging, coming toward the floor. I turned to look, and there he was, the man in the red jacket, standing at the end of the aisle, still, expressionless, watching me. My throat closed. "Who are you?" I whispered. He tilted his head like he didn't understand the question. I took one step back. He took one step forward. No sound, just movement. "Stay away," I said louder. He kept walking, each step too smooth, too silent. I turned and ran. I sprinted into the back room, grabbed my keys, and slammed the door shut behind me. The door had a push-bar lock, but I didn't trust it. I backed away slowly. Slam. The back room door shook violently, like something hit it, then again. Slam. Then silence. I waited. Nothing. I grabbed my bag, trying not to cry. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice. I turned toward the emergency exit. Its lock was hanging open, broken. I felt a cold wave rush through me. I hadn't opened it. None of us had. Something had. I stepped closer. A soft whisper drifted through the dark back aisle. "Watching you." I froze. The voice wasn't loud. It was barely even a whisper, but it came from right behind me. I turned. No one was there. But a note was lying by my feet, crushed slightly like someone had held it too tightly. I opened it with trembling fingers. This one had only 3 words. My heart nearly stopped. Slowly, so slowly, I turned my head. At first, I saw nothing, just shelves, pallets, darkness. Then I looked up. He was standing on top of a storage shelf, perched, bent at an unnatural angle, head lowered, eyes wide open, staring directly at me. His mouth moved lightly, but no sound came out. I didn't wait. I burst through the emergency exit, triggering the alarm. Cold night air hit my face. I sprinted across the parking lot, not daring to look back. The alarm kept blaring. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and sped out of the lot so fast I nearly hit the stop sign. When I finally looked back in the rearview mirror, the Walmart doors were wide open, and in the doorway, he stood there, red jacket, head tilted, watching me leave. No expression, no movement, just watching. I drove all the way to my hotel and didn't sleep until the sun rose. The next morning, I called the store. No answer. When I finally reached someone around noon, it was Lily from the registers. She sounded exhausted. "Evan, are you okay?" "No," I said. "I'm not coming back." She whispered, "I didn't think you would." "Lily, who is he?" She went quiet for a long time. Then she said, "We don't say his name, not anymore." "What happened to Daniel and the others?" "They all tried to leave during their shift. They all saw him. And once he chooses someone," her voice cracked, "he doesn't stop showing himself." "What do you mean?" She whispered one last sentence before hanging up. "Check your car's rearview mirror the next time you drive at night. You'll understand." Then she disconnected. I never called back, never returned, never drove anywhere at night for months.
I was 19 when this happened, old enough to understand fear, but young enough to think most things had a simple explanation. I had just moved to Riverton, a small but busy town where the only real place to work without a college degree was the huge 24-hour Walmart Supercenter off Highway 12. It wasn't fancy, but it paid better than fast food and I needed the money. My name is Evan, and this story still makes my chest tighten every time I think about it. My mom had gotten sick a year earlier, and medical bills pushed us into a small rented apartment on the edge of town. I picked up the overnight shift because it meant an extra dollar an hour. Mom always said, just keep your head down, Ev. Get through the night. I thought she meant life in general. I didn't know she meant literally, get through the night. When I started at Walmart, the first thing anyone told me was, avoid aisle 27 after 1 a.m. I laughed it off. I thought it was an inside joke for new employees. It wasn't. The automatic doors parted with a hiss as I walked inside for my first shift. The cold air conditioning hit my face, and the harsh white lights made everything look lifeless. Most customers filtered out by midnight, leaving behind a giant echoing warehouse of shining floors and humming refrigerators. My supervisor, Marla, a tired woman in her 40s with deep lines under her eyes, tossed me a badge. Stocking tonight, Evan. Aisles 19 through 23. Don't wander past 27. If you hear anything weird, ignore it. Everyone does. I frowned. What do you mean, weird? She hesitated just a second, just long enough for me to notice. You'll hear what I'm talking about. Don't start imagining things. That's when people quit. Then she walked off. I didn't ask more. I needed the job. Walmart after midnight is nothing like it is during the day. Every sound becomes suspicious. Every corner seems darker, and every aisle feels a little too empty. The security guard, Luis, nodded at me as he passed. First night? Yeah. You'll be fine, he said, then lowered his voice. Just don't talk to anyone you don't see. I blinked. What does that mean? He smiled without humor. You'll understand. He walked away, keys jingling at Howie around 1:15 a.m. I was restocking cereal boxes when I heard plastic shifting behind me, like someone dragging their hand along the shelves. I turned. No one there. I shrugged, but my heart skipped a beat. A moment later, I heard a quiet whisper. Soft, barely a breath. Help! I froze. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I peeked around the corner. Nothing. The store was silent again except for the buzzing fluorescent lights. I tried to convince myself I imagined it. Long shift. New job. Stress. But then a box fell off the shelf by itself. I jumped back so hard I hit my cart. My pulse hammered in my ears. At 2 a.m., I went to the break room to calm down. Jared, one of the older stockers, sat warming his hands around a cup of bad coffee. You look like you saw something, he said. I heard someone, I admitted quietly. And I think something pushed a box. He stared at me for a long moment before speaking. Was it near 27? No, 22. His shoulders stiffened. Don't go closer. Whatever you do. Why? What's in aisle 27? He set his coffee down and leaned forward. 3 years ago, a man died there. Heart attack. But no one found him for hours. Cameras glitched, lights shut off. Customers walked right past him without noticing. He swallowed. Ever since then, things happen. What kind of things? He looked away, voice low. Voices, shadows, stuff moving. The feeling that something's right behind you when the aisle is empty. A chill crawled up my spine. Why don't they close that aisle? He laughed bitterly. It's Walmart. They don't care if the place is haunted as long as sales stay up. He stood and grabbed his vest. Just do your job and ignore anything strange. That's what we all do. But ignoring things became impo. A few nights later, I was stocking pet food when I felt watched. Everyone else was in different aisles. I checked the security camera above me. It was pointing at me. Slowly, deliberately. Cameras don't move like that. Luis! I shouted weakly, assuming he was messing with me. No answer. The camera tilted sharper. Lower. Like it was curious about me. Then it snapped back to its original position. I didn't say a word to anyone, but I avoided looking up the rest of the night. The store got busy around the holidays, and eventually I was assigned to aisle 26. 1 aisle away. I tried to ignore how cold the air felt the closer I got to 27, how the lights flickered more there than anywhere else, how the shelves seemed wrong, like things shifted when you weren't looking. Around 3:30 a.m., while stalking, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, dragging, not like a shopper's, like someone tired, heavy. I turned around. A tall man stood at the mouth of aisle 27. His clothes were old, faded jeans, a gray hoodie. His posture slumped like he was carrying something unbearable. I said, "Sir, the store is closed to customers." He lifted his head. His face wasn't right, not grotesque, not bloody, just empty. No expression, no recognition, like he wasn't fully aware of being there. "Sir, you can't be back here." He opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Then he stepped back into aisle 27 and vanished behind the shelves. I walked to the entrance of the aisle. No one there. No footsteps, no sound, only cold. A few minutes later, something scraped along the floor behind me, slow and sharp, like fingernails pulling across tile. My blood ran cold instantly. I turned around. Fresh scratches, long, uneven, dragged across the floor behind my cart. No one there to make them. My throat tightened. "Not again," I whispered. Around 4 a.m., I found Luis watching the monitors intensely. "You okay?" I asked. He gestured at a screen. "Aisle 27's feed is down again." I stared. Black screen, static. Just like Jared said. Then suddenly, a figure flickered into view. Tall, slumped, gray hoodie. The same man. He wasn't standing in the aisle. He was staring directly into the camera, like he knew we were watching. The screen went black again. Luis rubbed his face with both hands. "I hate this job, man." 2 weeks later, something happened I still can't explain. It was a snowstorm night. Barely anyone came in. The store felt dead. I was sent to clean up a spill in, of all places, aisle 27. I didn't argue. I needed money. As I stepped into the aisle, the air felt wrong, thick and heavy, like stepping into a freezer. My breath fogged. I knelt to wipe up what looked like spilled detergent. Then I heard whispering behind me. Soft, broken, strained. "Please, help me." My hands froze mid-wipe. I turned slowly. The man stood a few feet from me. Only now I could see his face clearly, not empty, destroyed, eyes sunken with pain, skin pale like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. His lips trembled like he was trying to speak but couldn't. I whispered, "What do you want?" He lifted a shaking hand and pointed, "Behind me." I turned. The shelves were vibrating, soft at first, then violently. Boxes began falling off one by one. Then all at once, crashing, exploding, flying across the aisle. I ran, dropped the mop, didn't look back. All I heard was a voice behind me screaming, "Don't leave me!" I burst into the break room gasping. Marla looked up, annoyed. "What now?" "There's someone in aisle 27. Some guy. He needs help. He—" She closed her eyes like she'd heard this 100 times. "Sit," she said quietly. I sat, trembling. She lowered her voice. "I wasn't supposed to tell anyone this, but people see him. Every few months. Who is he?" She hesitated. "His name was Daniel Crow. Fell behind on rent. Worked here to support his sick mother. One night, after a 12-hour shift, he had a heart attack picking up a dropped carton of milk in aisle 27. My stomach twisted. "No one helped him?" I whispered. She looked ashamed. "He lay there for hours, calling out. But every worker who passed said they didn't hear anything. Some said they felt something, but didn't see him." I thought of the whisper I heard on my first night. "Help." My hands shook. "Why does he still show up?" Marla stared blankly at the table. "Maybe because when he needed people the most, no one came. I should have quit. I knew that. But money was money, and we needed every dollar." My final encounter happened the next week. Around 3 a.m., the lights shut off row by row. Not all at once, slowly, deliberately, like something was walking toward me. I pulled out my phone for light. The beam hit something only 10 feet away. A man, head tilted, hands trembling. "Please," he whispered. I stepped back. He stepped forward. His shadow stretched unnaturally long across the floor behind him. I tried to call, he said, voice raspy, broken. No one came. My throat tightened. I'm sorry, I managed. His lips curled, not in anger, but in sadness. I don't want you, he whispered. I want someone to see me. Then he faded. Not like smoke, like a light turning off. The store lights flickered back on. He was gone. I left my vest on the floor, walked out the front doors, didn't look back. 2 weeks later, I heard another overnight employee quit after seeing a man in a gray hoodie staring at him in aisle 27. They'll keep losing people. They'll keep ignoring it. Walmart doesn't close aisles for ghosts. But sometimes late at night, when I walk past a store window reflection, I swear I see someone standing behind me, just watching, just waiting. Someone who died alone and wants the world to know he's still there. I never thought the quietest part of my childhood would become the thing that still keeps me awake at night. But before I tell you what happened inside that Walmart, before the voices, before the aisles that didn't line up the way they should, before the man who kept appearing where no human should, I need to tell you how I grew up. Because if I don't, none of what followed will make sense. This is not a ghost story. At least, not the kind people like to argue about online. This is about something else. Something that watches, something that waits, something that remembers you even years. When I was 10, my family shifted to Elmsford Ridge, a small, silent town with the kind of calm that made you either peaceful or paranoid. My dad got a job at a warehouse on the edge of town, and my mom worked part-time at a daycare. We lived in a narrow rental house with peeling paint and a backyard that touched an abandoned field. I spent most evenings roaming the streets or biking in circles because there was nothing to do. No malls, no restaurants, no parks except a patch of grass with a broken slide. The only lively place in town was Walmart Supercenter, number 4182, a massive blue building glowing like a lighthouse for bored people. We went there for everything: groceries, school supplies, new shoes, light bulbs, sometimes just to walk in the AC. It was my favorite place. And that's where I met the man. Back then, I thought he was just a friendly stranger. I didn't know the truth. I didn't know what lived in those aisles after closing time. I didn't know something could learn my name without asking. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning. It was a normal Wednesday evening. My mom was buying cleaning supplies, and like always, she let me walk around the front aisles as long as I stayed where she could see me. I was standing near the self-checkout lane, spinning slowly on the metal rail, when I heard a deep voice behind me. "You're here again, kid?" I turned. A man stood next to the Coinstar machine. Blue Walmart vest, white hair peeking from under a cap, big friendly smile. He had a name tag, Harold. Hi, I said, awkward like any 10-year-old. "You like bikes, right?" His voice was steady, calm, too calm. I froze. I did like bikes, but I never told him that. I had never seen him before. "Don't look so surprised," he chuckled. "I see your mom buying bike oil sometimes." Easy guess. It made sense, sort of. So I smiled. He waved at me the way adults do when they try not to seem threatening. "Be careful near the toy aisle," he said suddenly. "Some things there don't stay where they're kept." I frowned. "What things?" "Just toys." His eyes didn't blink. "But toys can be tricky, don't you think?" Before I could respond, my mom called my name, and I ran to her. When I looked back, the man was gone. Completely gone. No sound of steps, no shifting cart, nothing. Just empty space where he'd been standing. The next few weeks, I kept seeing him, sometimes in the electronics aisle, sometimes by the bicycles, sometimes by the front doors, staring out like he was waiting for someone who never arrived. He always held a Walmart handheld scanner, but I never once saw him scan a single item. And he always said small things about me that he shouldn't have known. "How's your math test?" I never told him I had one. "Your little sister crying less these days?" He had never seen my sister. "Your dad's new truck runs loud. Bet he's annoyed." The truck came home that morning. Mom never saw him. Dad never saw him. Every time I pointed, he simply wasn't there. But all his conversations were normal, almost comforting. Until they weren't one evening, I walked in with my mom. The store felt unusually cold, like the AC was blowing harder than usual. I saw Harold leaning against a water dispenser. He didn't smile. He whispered, "Don't come here tomorrow." I blinked. Why? He glanced toward aisle 14 and lowered his voice. They change the layout every night, but tomorrow, they're changing the staff. Who's they? I asked, but he walked away. Only a few steps. And then, he wasn't there anymore. I begged my mom not to go, but we had to. My dad needed medicine. Walmart was packed at first, but by the time we reached the medicine aisle, the store felt too quiet. Lights flickered. A distant intercom crackled with static. "Store closes in 30 minutes, the voice said, but the store wasn't supposed to close for 2 more hours. We hurried, and that's when I saw him again. Not Harold, someone else, more pale. No vest, just a blue shirt, standing perfectly still at the end of the aisle. I grabbed my mom's hand. "We have to go." "What? Why?" I pointed. But when she looked, he was gone. Mom sighed. "You're overtired. Let's pay and—" Click. The lights went out for half a second. When they flicked back on, the aisle stretched longer. Impossibly long. The floor pattern didn't match anymore. And far at the end stood Harold. Only this time, he didn't look human. Skin too smooth. Face blank. Smiling too wide. Eyes wrong. "Kid," he whispered. No voice, just lips moving. "Run." The pale thing in the blue shirt stepped into the aisle, then another one, and another. All wearing blue. All smiling. All blinking too slowly, like they were learning to copy humans. My mom didn't see them. She only felt my hand shaking. "Please," I begged. "Let's go." She finally listened. We turned, walked fast, then ran. Behind us, I heard shoes slapping the floor. Too fast. Too synchronized. Like they weren't footsteps at all. We never went back to that Walmart. A month later, the building burned down in the middle of the night. The news said it was an electrical fire. But eyewitnesses said something else. They saw figures in blue uniforms walking inside long after the fire started. Walking calmly, not panicking, not trying to escape, just watching. One of the firefighters claimed he saw a man in a Walmart vest standing at the door with a smile. The name tag was melted, but one letter was still readable. I'm 23 now. I live in a different city, a different state, far away from Elmsford Ridge. Last month, I was driving past a shopping plaza at night and saw a brand new Walmart built there. Lights bright, doors sliding open and shut, and for a moment, just a split second, I saw him, standing near the entrance. Blue vest, hat, smiling the same soft smile. He lifted his hand slowly and waved, just like he used to. I didn't stop. I didn't look twice. I drove until my fuel light blinked. I woke up because someone outside my apartment window whispered my name. The same voice. Calm, deep, patient. "I'm still here, kid." I